Hello creators, thank you so much for joining me today. We're making some projects out of the sale-a-bration flyer using the Honeybee bundle and the coordinating designer series paper, the Golden Honey. I am so excited to get started on these projects. This is part 1 of 3 parts, and the materials I'm using today are all on page 10 of that sale-a-bration flyer. The only difference is that baker's twine and sequin pack that I'm using instead of the Daffodil Delight ruched ribbon. This designer series paper is absolutely stunning, and I am so excited to start chopping it up and putting it on these cards. The Honeybee bundle is quickly becoming one of my favorites, and I've already made several projects using that bundle. Here are some of the other supplies that we're using, and again, you can find it on page 10 of the sale-a-bration flyer. You can get that designer series paper free with a $50 order. Visit my website, MKre8tions.com, and click on Shop Now to be transported to my online store, and you'll be able to pick up this bundle for yourself and a couple other items to earn that paper for free. I'm just making a standard card base, and I'm also cutting an extra piece of Whisper White cardstock. Eventually, I trim this piece down to 2.5 by 4. You can find all of the measurements for this project on my website at MKre8tions.com. Just click on the coordinating blog post link in the description box below. From this beautiful gold foil piece, I cut a 4.25 by 5.5 inch piece of paper to go on top of my card. And now, using the Coastal Cabana Stampin pad along with a Stampin blender, I'm just coloring a little section of Whisper White cardstock. This is going to be the colorful teal that is on the background of the card on page 10 of the sale-a-bration flyer. I'm going to be cutting out the honeycomb die on that colorful spot. I'm also going to take my StazOn ink, and I'm using StazOn because it works really well with water-based inks. And since I'm coloring in the bees with my Daffodil Delight and a blender pen, it won't smudge. I've also stamped my sentiment on a small scrap of Whisper White cardstock. Make sure when you run this die through your Big Shot that you save those pieces. You want both the outline of the honeycomb as well as those little octagons, or is it a hexagon? I can never remember. I think it's a hexagon because it's 6. You want to make sure that you save those little scraps because that's what we're going to use to put onto our designer series paper in a moment. So here I'm just trimming down my piece with my bees on it, and I trimmed it down to the 2.5 by 4 inches. Now I'm trimming down my sentiment a little farther. I'm just going to cut all the way around the hello, as close as I can get. And then I'm taking another piece of our designer series paper, and I'm just fussy cutting one of those beautiful gold bees. And I decided to fussy cut it out so that I can cut as many of these bees out as I can without ruining one of the full bees, if that makes any sense. I'm going to take the coordinating die and run it through so that it cuts up right next to the outline. And now I'm just going to put everything together. I'm going to start by taking some of our liquid glue and adhering the honeycomb down in between the 2 colored in bees. And then I'm going to take a dimensional or 3 and adhere the gold bee on top and use my liquid glue to adhere the hello sentiment on top of the gold bee. Next up, I'm taking that liquid adhesive and I'm going to dot a couple of these hexagons with that adhesive. Then I'm going to take some of those cut out hexagon shapes that we colored in earlier and put those onto this beautiful designer series paper. Gluing these pieces onto the black background with the gold foil running through it really makes them stand out and pop, and I'm really pleased with how this card turned out. I love casing the catalogs and flyers whenever possible, so be sure to get a copy of the Sale-a-bration flyer so that you can get loads of inspiration from casing the flyer and the catalog. Next up, because I don't have the ruched ribbon, I'm substituting the metallic thread and sequin pack, which is also a Sale-a-bration item that is on page 7 of the Sale-a-bration flyer. This is also free with a $50 purchase. I'm going to thread it around the back of my Whisper White piece, and I'm adhering it with a dimensional, and then I'm just going to kind of loop it on either side a couple of times and then secure the other end with dimensionals as well before I adhere it to the front of my card. And now using that liquid glue, I'm just going to run it all on the back of that piece and glue it down to my cardstock. Now, you want to make sure that you glue it on the correct direction when you are placing it onto your card base. Stay tuned to the end to see my little oopsie. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more videos. You can follow me on the web at MKre8tions.com, and all of my social media is linked in the description box below. I'd love to see you back again soon. Bye!